Let's go to Yahoo Finance's Brian Sozzi and Julie Hyman. They're on the ground over in Davos, Switzerland. Guys, you look a little cold, but you're looking good. You still look great.
Hey, Brad, the weather here is snowy and about 10 degrees. Back to you.
It's not that cold up here.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's actually
Wait,
warm.
it's actually sunny, so the sun. I'm going to put on my amateur meteorologist hat and say the sun's bouncing off the snow, and it's actually, I don't know.
Sounds like a stock talk, Julie.
It's not that cold right now, so
but
I'll take it while I can get it.
Importantly, Brad and Inez, the crowds are back here at the Davos, at the World Economic Forum in Davos. You know, I went to the one in the summer. The crowds weren't what they are. It didn't feel like a typical Davos, but the crowds are back here. We were just chatting up with Brian Moynihan, Bank of America CEO. We'll hear from him later in the show. A lot of executives that normally would attend this are back. And they're all kind of depressed, Julie. A little depression.
There are a lot of executives here. There aren't necessarily as many world leaders here. We did have a Chinese Vice Premier Liu He getting some headlines talking about that the property sector in China is going to continue to be weak, but surprisingly not as negative on the broader China economy. And I would say that's sort of the nuance of what we're hearing more broadly, that there is definitely caution being expressed on the economy. I mean, I know you were looking at the PW survey to that effect, but the world is not ending, right? That's not the vibe that you're getting, even if the world is facing a lot of different issues.
And of course, the China Vice Premier, surprise meeting with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. So that happened this morning. We saw Janet Yellen walking into the Congress Center just moments ago. But you're right, Julie. So that PwC survey, 73% of CEOs surveyed noted they see an economic downturn sometime this year, or a recession. A good part of them, too, which I have to giggle at this a little bit, they don't see their business being around in 2 to 3 years, which is a big red flag. You know, when I talked to Brian Moynihan, we'll have that full interview soon, he's calling for a mild recession. Now, this is what we heard from a lot of the bank CEOs last week, but he sees a mild recession this year, but maybe things start to reaccelerate in terms of growth in 2024 and then 2025.
And, you know, we were just chatting earlier how when we're here, it definitely feels like you're in a bubble, right? Yes. We know that there's a lot of news still happening in the U.S., earnings-wise and otherwise, and yet there's sort of this, I don't know, insulated feeling.
Are the markets even open? What are they doing? Is pre-market?
No,
I'm just totally detached.
The markets are not open yet.
Not open.
We're 6 hours ahead of you, so I guess that's why he's confused.
Sure. So I was just taking a look at that survey and a little under the hood on it. There's 60% of CEOs are saying that they won't be reducing their headcount. So, I mean, what do you make of that? We have seen layoffs in the tech sector, but the tech sector has also hired a lot during the pandemic. So what do you make of that stat? And also, I know that you had mentioned even the tech sector in your morning brief meeting.
Well, thank you for reading that morning brief newsletter, Inez. I really appreciate it. Oh, well, Bank of America CEO, I'm going to keep mentioning his name. I'm going to keep name dropping because he was one of our early interviews here. He's not expecting any mass layoff announcements. Of course, we had Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs sending people pink slips. None of those happening at Bank of America. And, you know, I was talking about this, Inez, with Julie just moments ago, that there appears to be a multi-speed recession, or two different stories here. One, we have a lot of companies laying people off, like tech, like in Wall Street investment banks, but a lot of other companies taking those laid off of workers and either hiring them, and then in addition, also keeping the workers they have, almost supporting them.
Well, not even sort of multi-speed among different companies, but even within the same company. We were just talking to Martine Ferland, who is the Mercer CEO, the world's biggest HR consultancy, and she said what they are seeing is even within a company, whereas in past recessions or pre-recessions even, you would have mass layoffs across multiple different functions of a company. Now they are very targeted in areas that are not seeing as much growth, so that companies are seemingly being much more strategic in how they are cutting people. So that's how that stat that you mentioned, Inez, does seem credible, given the sort of different nature of how layoffs are happening right now.
We look forward to the rest of the morning with you guys from Davos. Thanks, guys. See you soon.